Okay, so we are back and we are now going through Jenny Slate's deposition transcript as exhibited by Blake Lively. Okay, so I've just gone through the Isabella Ferrer one. That was just, I don't even know how to describe it. It was just really anger inducing that she was so affronted by being made to look at her co-star, or being asked to look at her co-star while she licked a spoon of cookie dough that was scripted that he was feeding her. And then there was also a wink, apparently, that took place in a conversation between the actor who played young Atlas and Justin Baldoni, which Isabella Ferrer was not even part of the conversation. She did not see it, but she's recanting it as if it's like, some big thing, and apparently felt sexualized by it. No wonder she wanted to keep that sealed, because she should be ashamed of herself. I'd be embarrassed if I said that crap. So we're going to go to Jenny Slate's, and I'm not expecting this to be any better. But I think I want to know what the issue was with what Jamie Heath said after he, gave her money to get a safer apartment for her kid. Like, what was so awful? So, just to remind everyone, though, these are deposition excerpts. This is not a full deposition. These are excerpts, so it kind of, will bounce around. So, it may abruptly end, and then we're starting, the next page starts an entirely new line of questioning. So I will try and point that out when I see it, but that's why that happens. It's not that that's how the deposition was taken. Okay, so I'm not actually sure who is Miss Porter. I think Porter is Slate's attorney. So we're doing Blake Lively's side, who is doing the questioning at the start here. Okay. I'm not entirely sure which Blake Lively attorney is questioning here at the moment. So the first question, and you were an actress in the film It Ends With Us, right? Yes. And in that film, you portrayed the character of Alyssa? Yes. And who was Alyssa in the film? Alyssa is the sister of Ryle and the best friend of Lily. And Ryle and Lily are the main characters? Yes. How did you come to portray Alyssa in the film? I was offered the role. By whom? Through an email from my agents. So you didn't audition for it? Oh, she didn't even have to audition for this. No. When you were offered the role, what did you do to determine whether you wanted to take it? I read the script, like, first thing I did. I'm sorry. And then it jumps to page 38. So that was page 17. This is now page 38. So there's an objection from Slate's attorney. And then she answers, because we don't see the question, but she answers, any issues with improvisation? The attorney says, I'm going to withdraw the question and we'll move on to another topic. Unfortunately, we don't have the context of what was being asked there and what was being withdrawn. So the next question, did Wayfarer provide you with any workplace harassment training in connection with It Ends With Us? Not that I can remember. Do you recall receiving any training regarding regarding a safe work environment or sexual harassment? Not that I can remember. I'm just going to go on another thought process, as I often do, but I can understand, like, if this was a permanent role in an office or, that kind of situation, having inductions where everyone has, safety training and, sexual harassment training. I'm not in the industry, and I don't know much about the acting industry. Is that something they have to do with every single film? Or is it just the production studio? Like when Wayfarer were talking about, Justin Baldoni specifically was saying, oh, yes, I had harassment anti-harassment training, anti-retaliation training? Or is that part of Wayfarer Studios as an organization? But I'm not sure, like, because I just see that every crew cast member here, they seem to be asking, oh, did you have any training regarding a safe work environment or sexual harassment? And they're saying, not that I can remember. I don't know, is that something that's normal part of, like, actors and actresses have to do that with every film? I don't know, because it's something that happens every 2 years. Well, theoretically, more than one film can be made, in a 2-year period. So my understanding was it just applied, it was an organizational thing, like internal to Wayfarer. And these people are, contractors technically. They're independent contractors the actors and actresses. So, would Wayfarer be providing them with this kind of training? I don't know. Because it's like if a law firm, needs a plumber or an electrician, do they provide sexual harassment training to them when they've come to fix a leak or fix a faulty wiring? I don't know. Again, just spitballing. But there just seems to be a lot of focus from Lively's lawyers on whether all these people, actors, hired actors, have had sexual harassment or, anti-retaliation training, but I can't see why they would, because they are independent contractors, technically. Okay. Do you understand whether there was a human resources department in connection with It Ends With Us that you could go with any concerns related to the film? I assumed. Did you know if there was one? No. Were you ever given an email or hotline you could use to raise concerns? Not that I recall. And then she does say, I'm going to hand you a document, but then it changes to a different page. What conversation had occurred? Before this text message, there was a conversation on set where I felt that something inappropriate happened and I mentioned it. Can you tell us a little more about what was going on? What was the inappropriate thing that you felt had happened? Can you tell us a little bit more about what was going on? What was the inappropriate thing that you felt had happened? We were, in my memory, getting ready to shoot, and Blake and I and Justin were on set. And you mentioned that she looked, I can't remember the order of it, sexy and then hot, or hot and then sexy, or that her look was sexy or hot. And I remember her saying something like, that's not what I'm going for. And then he tried another modifier, either hot or sexy. And again, I forget the order. And I remember her saying something like, not that either. It's amazing how she remembers word for word what Blake said, but can't quite remember what Justin says. And then I said to Justin something like, I was recently talking to a friend about how comments about actors' bodies and their wardrobes, and again, this is paraphrasing, but it ranged from irrelevant or unnecessary to like inappropriate and distracting. And it's, can be a little bit awkward to call it out, but like, we're just not doing this anymore. And I felt that I needed to say that because that's how I felt. I didn't want to speak for Blake because I didn't know her well at the time. And I could only speak for myself. So generally, but Justin seemed that he didn't like that I said that because he sort of like walked away in a huff. If anyone has seen the video, he does not walk away in a huff. He's just doing stuff. And then he came back and said something like, the reason I used the word hot is because it's hot in here. So that was the situation as I remember it. And it was hot in there. It was like a really hot day, and she was wearing this ridiculously heavy big jacket covering up the onesie that all the other characters were wearing, onesies. And she was kind of spoiling the shot by this stupid oversized coat on a really hot day in a packed set, which had loads of people and machines. She was just being ridiculous. Did you believe him? Objection. Did I believe him? That the reason he used the term hot was because it was hot in there? No. What did you think of that comment? Shafter objects. I was disappointed by it. Did it sound to you like he was making an excuse that was not truthful? Okay, am I going straight into the same? Yeah, so we're following into the next page. Objection. Yes. And why is that? Well, I was there. I heard the descriptor used in the context that it was used. So she can remember the meaning or her interpretation of this word, but she can't remember which word it was. Did you feel that you understood the meaning of what he was saying when he said it? Objection to form from her own attorney. Let me ask that again. How did you understand Mr. Baldoni's comment to Ms. Lively? I understood his comment to that it was about her appearance. Did you feel that it was about her character or her? I mean, this is speculation, for fuck's sake. Objection. I felt that it was about her body. How could you know that? I don't understand that. How can she know that, right? And what is Justin Baldoni supposed to be referring to as hot or sexy about a massive big coat, which is sitting on top of a onesie? I don't know. These women are infuriating. Did you come to understand how Miss Lively interpreted Mr. Baldoni's comment at some point? Yes. And when was that? Later that day. So going back to this text chain, and then it jumps in. And at the so she's answering, I was concerned, and yeah, I was concerned. Whatever that means. Why were you concerned? All of those things in my mind are unprofessional, inappropriate, and really out of the ordinary. What about these incidents that Ms. Lively described to you made you feel that they were inappropriate? Invasion of privacy, calling someone's trainer to find out their body weight, unprofessional, emotional expression. Fuck's sake. It's the production company on the set dealing with the set of the film, asking the question for the purposes of health and safety. I mean, she is just some D-list actress who is doing, playing a part in a film. What the fuck does she know about the reasons why the inquiries were made? She might not like them, but giving weight and height and various things is important in many, many contexts for safety reasons. Plus, the trainer was also Justin's trainer, who was working on his bad back. Okay. Is there anything else you and Miss Lively spoke about in that conversation? I can't recall other specifics, but I know that the conversation was around listening to each other, wanting to be supportive, needing to be affirmed. Why? What needs to be affirmed? What does that mean? Is that, yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, no, he's out of order. He's so unprofessional. It's creepy. Was someone needing to hear those words and you were there to provide them? Validated. I'm not the biggest fan of wokerati, in case anyone hasn't caught up with that and figured that out. I don't love people who just virtue signal and say shit just to tell people what they want to hear. I don't like it. I find it disingenuous. And I do not like these buzzwords as well, needing to be affirmed, validated. You should be dealing in facts, not, oh, but yes, your feelings. Like, did he do something or didn't he? What did he do? Do you know, are you able to get into his mind and, determine what he meant by his own words? No, you're just applying your own subjective opinion, then it's not proof of anything. And then she continues, and trying to figure out what was going on. Did you find it unsettling what was going on? Yes. And then it goes to the next page, to a different page, 51. What do you recall those to be at that time? We don't know what those are. Justin's inappropriate comments, generally a kind of chaotic set. Yeah. When you say his inappropriate comments, you mentioned the hot and sexy comments to Miss Lively. Were there any comments that you felt were inappropriate at that time? Yes. And is this from Mr. Baldoni? Yes. What did he say to you that you felt was inappropriate? He said something like, I can say this because my wife is here, but you look sexy in what you're wearing. And what about that did you feel is inappropriate? I would say it breaks a pretty well understood norm to comment, give your personal opinion on how someone's body looks. When you say a pretty well understood norm, can you explain a little bit more what you mean by that? Sort of like what I said previously, in the situation that I described between Blake and Justin and I assumed there was an understanding of we're not doing this anymore. It's not appropriate anymore. It never was appropriate, but it's not appropriate in a workplace. And even on a film set, in any workplace. And is that the case even though your physical appearance is an element of acting? Shouster objects. And then the attorney says, well, let me strike that. Is it the case that your physical appearance is an element of acting? Yes. And is it the case that you felt it was inappropriate in this workplace, even though your physical appearance is an element of acting? Yes. And why is that? The comment was about me, not my character. It wasn't useful for my work. It wasn't anything I wanted. It was unwanted and had no place in my professional experience. Did you feel that same way about the comments Mr. Baldoni made to Miss Lively that you described earlier? Yes. Did you feel that Mr. Baldoni was sexualizing you? Objection. Yes. Now this is unusual because Jenny Slate specifically told Ange Gianetti, which she testified, I believe, to, that she did not find that she was, like it was a sexual comment. She just didn't appreciate it. We read that in Justin's deposition, that was what was said to Ange Gianetti. So, but now she is saying, oh yeah, I did sexualize me. Did you say anything to Mr. Baldoni at the time when he made the sexy comment to you? Yes. What did you say? I was surprised and bummed out, sort of lightly stunned, and I think I said something like, yeah, it's a good look. So she agreed with him. Did you not tell him that you didn't like the comment? I did not. And why did you not do that at that time? I didn't feel comfortable. Why not? Because I think it was either my first or second day on set. He was my boss, and I just wanted to do my work and leave. Going back to the text chain in Miss Lively's response to you, she says in the second line, I'm sorry for what you've experienced, and I wish I could have been there to witness it for you. Oh, to witness. I love the elaborate choice of words there. I do appreciate I'm being rather cynical here, but at this point, I'm just so sick of the nonsense reasons for these women to have faux outrage. Was Miss Lively not present when Mr. Baldoni made the sexy comment to you? I don't remember her being there. Did you talk about that comment in your conversation with her in the trailer on May 23rd? I must have. And then at the end of this entry in the text exchange, Miss Lively says, you were able to be bold without being inflammatory, which is such a tightrope, and I really appreciate it. Did you understand this to be referencing the statement that you made to, and then it jumps. Weirded out by that. Okay, so that's Jenny Slate answering something, and the last bit we see is weirded out by that. Question, how did you find out? Because I found out because I was leaving the room. Because when I was leaving the room, he made a joke along the lines of, I may or may not have recorded that whole thing. Did you say anything at the time? I can't remember what I said. Did you and Miss Lively talk about that? Then? At any time? Let's first talk about it then. Did you talk about it then? Blake immediately said something along the lines of, that wasn't legal to do that. Well, actually, if they were all in New York, it was. Or New Jersey. How did Mr. Baldoni respond? I can't really recall what he did. Did he react well? I can't remember. I was very flustered. And going back to the time when Mr. Baldoni referred to Miss Lively as sexy and hot, and you made your statements, you said that he walked away. Did he seem upset? Shouster objects. Yes, he seemed upset. And what about his manner led you to believe that he was upset? Kind of like walking off in a huff type of mannerisms. Going back to Exhibit 5, at the end here, you say, how are you feeling? I'm so dead today, my apologies. And then Miss Lively says, you're not dead to my eyes. I'm having a funky time today. You? Uh-huh. Do you see that? Yes. Was that the next shoot day? The timing is a little off on this potentially because we can't tell if it's GMT time. GMT. So they would have been in the UK. Okay. Because my time is GMT time. If it's GMT time, so it looks like it's the next day. Do you recall? I can see what you can see here. Okay, but do you have any recollection of it being the next day when you began this text exchange? Then it jumps. Halfway through a question about what was happening? No. Did you arrive at your feelings independently based on your own experiences? Yeah. Also, it's Ezra Hudson, who's the lively attorney here. All right, should we take a little break? Yes. Right, so they go off the record and then they come back. This is the beginning of Media Unit 2. Miss Slate, I'm going to hand you another document that we're going to be marking as Exhibit 7. Exhibit 7 is a text chain between Miss Slate and Miss Lively dated May 25th, 2023. Okay, it does continue. Miss Slate, do you recognise this as a text exchange between you and Miss Lively that you participated in? Yes. And it looks like this continues the prior conversation where Miss Lively said she was feeling funky. Do you agree? Objection? Yes. And you respond, so funky. Objection. Objection. Can you point us to which prior conversation you're referencing? Sure, Exhibit 5. Right, okay. Do you see the last exchange from Miss Lively? She says, I'm having a funky time today. You? And then it looks like you respond, so funky, in Exhibit 7. Yeah, oh, I see. I'm sorry, I was confused by the time. Yes. And do you recall this exchange as you look at it? As I look at it, yes. Do you remember what you meant by funky? Being unsettled, feeling weird? Did it feel like there were issues that were unresolved? It's a bit leading. Shouster and Porter both object. Hudson, I'll withdraw that and restate it. Did you feel like there was something that could be done to help you feel settled and less weird as you describe it? Objection. I wasn't sure. Miss Lively says then she feels like she needs to say something tonight after rap. Do you see that? Yes, I do. And then you respond that if you want someone to be there to advocate for with you, I'm there. Were you glad that Miss Lively was willing to speak up? Yeah. And then if you go down below and they jump to a different page, Did you see this as a general invitation to go to her trailer anytime she was pumping breast milk? Oh, for goodness sake. Objection. No. I'm going to hand you what we marked as Exhibit A. In addition to sharing your concerns with your manager, did you also share your concerns with your agent? Eventually, yes. And your agent is Josh Pearl. At the time, yes. The document we just marked as Exhibit A is a text exchange dated May 27th, 2023, between you and Josh Pearl. Do you recognize this as a text exchange between you and Mr. Pearl that you participated in? Yes. My voice is already going. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's already going. I feel like subconsciously, I think I just don't want to say the words. Mr. Pearl was your agent at the time? At the time, he was my agent. And in the first text in this chain, you asked him if Stacey had gotten in touch with him, right? Yes. And then you go on to tell him that this week was really intense for a few reasons. It's fascinating and also shitty. Justin and Jamie are truly unfit. I'm not scared or anything, just repulsed and deeply irritated. And I know Blake is experiencing that on a much more serious level. Is there anything that was occurring on set other than the incidents you have described? Objection. Other than what I've described, I'm not exactly sure, like how to answer that, honestly. I think what I described are the issues other than, COVID and the strike. So obviously COVID and the strike are things that are beyond Wayfarer's control. The general chaos that I sort of described and the behavior that was as described here. I think that's it. And this reflects the feelings that you were having at the time accurately? Yes. And Mr. Pearl responds, are you okay to continue? Do you see that? Yes. Were you considering not continuing with the film at that time? No. And then you go on to say that you're okay to keep going, but you say, I feel like it's about to get really bad, and I'm not sure what Blake's limit is, but she's really taken a lot of crap from them, like crazy shit. And I'm not kidding when I tell you that Justin and Jamie freaked me out. Like, they tell really weird lies, and Justin is astoundingly wrong-headed. When you say they tell you really weird lies, what did you have in mind at that moment? I don't recall. Of course not. And then you say, I really don't know how he did a TED Talk. He is worse than most of the bros I've encountered. Not because he's predatory, but because of his general fragility. There you go. These people don't like nice men. They literally don't like nice men. They don't understand it. It's not their language. And I got to laugh at her talking about Justin and Jamie's fragility, given that Stephanie Jones kind of scoffed at Jenny Slate's fragility for being upset over her pants being called sexy or the sanctity of marriage being referred to. So she confirms, not because he's predatory. So it's almost like she's saying that he's not predatory, but because of his general fragility and misogyny, like not seeming to be aware of the obvious no-nos. What were you referring to there in terms of his fragility and misogyny and not being aware of any of the obvious no-nos? The defensiveness of that sort of happy behavior, the inappropriate behavior, those types of things? Were you referring to the TED Talk that your other agent had told you about before you took the role? Yes. And you understood that to be a TED Talk in which he described himself as a male feminist? Something like that, yeah. And did you feel that his behavior was not consistent with someone who proclaims to be a male feminist? Shouster objects, and then Hudson says, well, strike that. Why did you reference his TED Talk here? I referenced it because of what I say here. His behavior was really at odds with someone who is apparently an expert enough to do a TED Talk. And then Mr. Pearl asks you if you had spoken with Alex. Did you understand that to be Alex Sachs? When he says, how's Alex been? Yes. I'm sorry, I'm reading through this because I haven't. No problem. We're going through this kind of quickly. I'm going to ask you another question, so ignore that one. You say you haven't spoken to Alex because when we had brunch, she said she had been friends with Justin for a while, and I just felt weird. Is that accurate? Yes. As to why you didn't speak with Alex? Yes. And what was your understanding of Alex Sachs's and Mr. Baldoni's relationship? I didn't know a lot about it, but she said she had known Justin for a few years. And you said at that point he had made the comment to me about looking sexy, but I had decided to just try to push past it, even though it made me feel so unsettled and deeply disappointed and irritated. Does that accurately describe how you felt? Yes. And then you tell Mr. Pearl that Miss Lively had alerted Miss Giannetti at Sony and that Miss Neal was also planning to talk to Miss Giannetti, correct? Yes. And then your last line here in this text chain is, I do kind of feel like there might be a limit to what people can take. There are also a lot of crew people who are pretty upset. Who on the crew did you understand to be upset at that time? People in the hair and makeup department and a couple of PAs? And who in the hair and makeup? And then it jumps. With respect to Mr. Heath going into Miss Lively's trailer, did you hear about that from anyone other than Miss Lively? I don't think so. What do you recall her telling you about that at whatever point it was? I don't recall anything specific, but just that she felt that they were coming in. You say you don't recall when Miss Lively told you this. Was it during the first phase of filming? I think so. And there was a break in the filming because of the WGA strike, correct? Yes. And that happened sometime in late June? I believe so, sometime in June. Of 2023? Yes. And with respect to Miss Lively telling you that Mr. Baldoni was improvising physical intimacy, did she tell you about that during the first phase of filming? I think so, yes. And what do you recall her telling you? I recall her saying that he was biting her lip when they were kissing. Seriously, we've seen the video. We've seen behind the scenes footage. Blake Lively does that to Justin Baldoni. Did she tell you that he improvised physical contact that was not written in the script? Yeah, that's what she felt. Did you feel something like that would be appropriate? Objection. Something like what? Did you have any views on whether it was appropriate for Mr. Baldoni to improvise kissing or other physical intimacy that wasn't written in the script? Objection. I think it's appropriate to do what you plan to do in your scene. Oh my god. Right, tell me you don't know what you're doing. Right. Scenes change. That's what the director, the producer, and the writer do. You don't just stick to what you plan to do. Sometimes you have a creative idea and you make small adjustments, or you don't do something that you plan to do. Or you do something differently, you add something. This isn't normal. Okay. So in your view, if it wasn't planned, it would not be appropriate. That's just bullshit. That's absolutely bullshit. In that case, then, there was a lift scene planned, but Lively wanted it pulled by, Jenny Slate's logic. They should have continued doing that. Okay, then we jump. Did Miss O'Neill report back to you about the conversation that she had with Miss Giannetti? Yes. Do you remember that conversation with Miss O'Neill outside of what's written in this text? Not specifically. In the text, you say that Miss O'Neill went through the general points of the unprofessional behaviour and the feeling that I have that's affecting the work. Do you see that? Yes. Did you feel that it was affecting the work? Your work? Yes. Did you feel that the work environment in general was altered by the behaviour of Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath. Objection. Yeah, yes. And then you also wrote that you ended up telling your manager the whole deal. Like, just all of the weird stuff that Justin and Jamie have pulled. Do you recall specifically what you told your manager with respect to that? Not specifically at this point, no. And then you also wrote to Miss Lively that you planned to speak with Alex the next day and tell her about your discomfort and feelings of being unsettled. Do you see that? I do. So, at that point, had you decided to speak with Miss Sachs, notwithstanding the fact that she had a longer relationship with Mr. Baldoni? It appears so. And what prompted you to want to raise your concerns with Miss Sachs? She says she doesn't recall. I have a feeling that it was something to do with Blake Lively. And then in Miss Lively's response, she says, because I haven't spoken to Justin or Jamie or Alex about the inappropriate behaviour yet, you can just speak to what you've witnessed and experienced. I've told Ange, but I asked her not to mention so that I could personally tackle, since I have to try to salvage some degree of chemistry and camaraderie with Justin, who's not only my director but love interest, and we're not even 1/3 of the way done. What did you understand Miss Lively to be communicating to you here? Objection. The way I took that was that she felt that her work would suffer if she brought it up, and that I should just talk about what happened for me. To Miss Giannetti? Yes. And then if you go down, there's an entry from Miss Lively at 2:44 a.m. God, do her and her husband ever sleep? Where she says, you were standing there for the thing he said to me when he said I look hot. I said that's not what I'm going for. He said, okay, sexy, and then made a joke once he asked if he crossed a line, and I said yes. That he must have missed the sexual harassment meeting. That sounds like a text message coaching. I'm being really cynical now. I shouldn't do that. Okay. Now you described this incident in your own words earlier. Do you recall? Mr. Baldoni saying, at the end of that, he must have missed a sexual harassment meeting. I don't specifically recall that. Do you have any reason to doubt Miss Lively's recollection of that? Objection. No. When you saw this, you didn't think immediately, well, that's not right. He didn't say that. Objection. That is a bit leading. And correct her. Correct? In these texts? Yes. Yeah, I don't correct her. If Miss Lively had recounted something that you believe was inaccurate, would you have said it to her? Would you have said to her you remembered it differently? Objection. I don't feel like I can speak to that hypothetical. That's fair. If you go to the next page at 3:18 a.m., there's a text from Miss Lively where she says, it's a culmination. The difference is, if someone said something to one of us, if we made them uncomfortable, neither of us would behave the way he does after. That's what's odd. He keeps referencing it or disconnects entirely or gets snippy and impatient as a director. Is that the experience that you had as well? Objection. Yes. Did you understand this to be in reference to Mr. Baldoni? Yes. And then Miss Lively says, he was so huffy after the sexy thing, I felt awful for saying something. Was that consistent with your experience? Yes. And then if you skip down to 3:28 a.m., Miss Lively says, what you said, though, is very self-aware. Neither of us are people who can't take a joke or who can't work or understand blue. We're not that fragile. Now I'm going to lodge an objection there. Okay. You can't just record people without asking. You can't speak to people sexually while not in character or while talking about the character. And if you overstep, you move on. It's the weirdness after that makes it feel bad. Like if we speak up, the vibes on set get funky and the work suffers. Did you feel that Miss Lively in this exchange accurately reflected what was happening on set with Mr. Baldoni? Objection. In that situation that I experienced where he talked about her looking sexy or hot, yes. And then the recording here. Did you understand that to refer to the recording of the Zoom? Yes. I can't believe Blake Lively is outraged about, oh, you can't just go around recording people, but exhibited, and it was an illegal recording from Claire Ayub of Steve Sarowitz. Because Steve Sarowitz was in Illinois, which is a two-party consent state. Happy to exhibit that. But honestly, they're just giving themselves an aneurysm here over the fact that they were recorded by Justin Baldoni in one-party consent state. And did you agree, in your view, that you and Miss Lively were not fragile and could take a joke? Objection. Yeah. If you go to the end of this text, I think we're then jumping. Yeah, we're jumping. I'm going to hand you a document marked as Exhibit 12. Exhibit 12 is text exchange dated June 1st, 2023. Do you recognize this as a text exchange between you and Alex Sachs that you participated in? Yes. And can you tell that it's Miss Sachs just from the context? Yes. And in this message, Miss Sachs sends you a note from Mr. Baldoni. Do you see that? Yes. And how would you characterize this note? You said earlier that he did not give you an apology. Do you not see this as an apology note? No, I don't see it as an apology. My God. How would you characterize this note? I would characterize this note as an acknowledgement that he received information from Ange and that, as he said, adjustments will be made accordingly. How did you feel having received this note? I felt that it was, not taking direct accountability and lame. Oh, for fuck's sake. But it was also enough for me to feel like I could focus up and do our work, and yeah. And then they break for lunch. And then this, I believe, yeah, they come back and then they jump to page 113. A group of people on June 4th, 2024. I don't know what the question is. And she says, yeah. And it looks like the subject matter of this text exchange is something called the EPK. Can you tell me what an EPK is? It's EPK. Let's hope I'm right. It stands for, I want to say electronic press kit, but I might be wrong. And usually what that is sometimes they do it on set, sometimes they do it after production is wrapped in the post-production time. They ask you questions about the production, your role, stuff like that, and then they use it for promotional materials. And it looks like and then Porter then just jumps in and says, I was going to mention, I think in your question you asked 2024, but it's 2023, just for the record. Hudson. Thank you. Yes. For the record, counsel was correct. The date of the text is June 4th, 2023. Thank you for correcting that. It looks like you were sent some questions to answer for the EPK as part of this text chain. Is that right? Yes. And you say here to your team here, hey guys, I don't want to do anything with Justin. I don't want to talk about him, nothing. And the same goes for Jamie, who is truly unprofessional. I also haven't read the book. Wow. Jenny Slate didn't read the book. I also haven't read the book, so definitely no questions about that. I've got questions. I'm just not sure how visible I want to be in this campaign and looking over this list. I'm wondering if actually we should wait a beat. What is Blake going to do? I'll ask him myself on Tuesday. So was it your feeling at this time that you did not want anything to do with respect to press or promotion of this film? It seems that was my position at the time. And it says here, I'll ask her myself on Tuesday. Had you not discussed this issue with Miss Lively by this time? I can't specifically recall, but I guess not. It's interesting. Jenny Slate, I thought I hadn't seen her in any of the press or promo, but yeah, she said flat out, I'm not doing any marketing of a film she was in. And I don't know why I'm surprised she didn't read the book. Did Miss Lively tell you to tell your team that you didn't want to do press or publicity? No. This was something that you did independently? Yes. I'll hand you what we'll be marking as Exhibit 17. Exhibit 17 is an email exchange dated June 4th, 2023 between Samantha Cooper, Jenny Slate, Paris Ries, Alexander Croton, Karen Gardner, Stacey O'Neill, and Jenny Slate. Those are 2 Jenny Slates. CAA team regarding Jenny Slate upcoming publicity schedule as of June 4th, 2023. Do you recognize this as an email exchange that you had with the people that I just described on June 4th, 2023? Yes. And in the beginning email below from Paris Ries, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, there is a schedule of various publicity events. Do you see that? Yes. And in response to this schedule, you say, "Hi there, my concerns are only increasing about our director and producer, Jamie. I'd like to do the bare minimum here. Let's talk on the phone and cut it way down, please." Again, is this how you were feeling at this time about doing anything related to publicity for the film? Yes. And at some point, were you involved at all in publicity or press for the film? Yes. I'm going to hand you a document that we will mark as Exhibit 18. Exhibit 18 is a text exchange between Miss Slate and Josh Pearl, dated July 26, 2024. Do you recognize this as a text exchange that you participated in with Mr. Pearl? Yes. They seem to jump a few pages. And then she's answering a question. I think what the text is what it says. Okay, we don't know what it says. And it's an accurate description of how you were feeling about them at the time? At this time, July 26th, yes. Now, you said that you did participate in some press and publicity for the film. Is the fact that Miss Lively's cut with Sony the one that was being released? Strike that. Did the fact that Miss Lively's cut with Sony was the one that was being released impact your willingness to do press or publicity for the film? I don't think it mattered to me whose cut it was. I think it just mattered to me that the cut was watchable. At some point, did you see the cut of the film? I never saw the full, completed movie. Oh, fuck's sake. So it mattered to her that it was watchable, and then she says, but I didn't watch the film. So she didn't read the book, she didn't watch the film. She just sounds so adorable. What made you decide to participate in press or publicity for the film at all? I didn't want to let my castmates down. I didn't want to be dramatic. It seemed that everybody was participating and I just wanted to make it easy, yeah. Did you do any publicity or promotion with Mr. Baldoni? No. Did you tell anyone that you would not do press or publicity with Mr. Baldoni specifically? I believe so. Beyond what you had told your team in 2023, let me just clarify. Did you consistently take the position that you would not do press or publicity with Mr. Baldoni from 2023 up through the time that you were doing publicity and promotion? Yes. And what did you do in terms of publicity and promotion for the film? What I recall is 2 content days and a press junket, and that also included like a taped appearance for a morning TV show. And I went to the premiere and, the photo call there. And did you receive direction about how to talk about the film, talking points and things along those lines from anyone? I believe there was, there were talking points from either Sony or, usually there are these. But I'm not usually someone that reviews those, and I don't remember reviewing them. Did you have your own views of how you were going to speak about the film? Nothing planned. Do you recall how you spoke about the film during these promotional activities? I recall wanting to avoid drama in the sort of social media sphere and wanting to support Blake's performance and speak into that. Okay. And did you speak about the movie as a film of female empowerment? This being the movie that she hasn't watched, by the way. It's quite likely. I don't recall exactly. Do you know, the vibes I'm getting from her is someone who just does not give a shit. Does the bare minimum that's required of her, and sometimes not even that, wants to do even less, and just does not care. Does not care about whether she's done a good job or not, or whether her castmates have done a good job or not. I'm really despising her the further we go through this deposition. You know, at least I can sit and say, like, I don't like everything Blake Lively did. I don't like, the way she's acted. Even the marketing, it was tone deaf. But at least I can say, well, do you know what? She did something. She did completely the wrong thing, but that's better than sitting there going, shrugging her shoulders and going, yeah, I don't care. I don't care. I'm not happy to do this. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this. I'm not going to read the book and I'm not going to watch the fucking film I created with all these people. Honestly, what a lazy bitch this person is coming across as. Really pissing me off. Okay. We go on. There's only a few more pages left anyway. Okay, question. Did Blake Lively ever tell you that any of the defendants questioned her about her sexual fantasies or sexual performance? What? This is now Wayfarer's attorneys asking these questions because Hudson is now objecting. And then she goes, aye. And then Hudson cuts off, go, counsel, before we go into this, I would just like to invoke federal rules of civil procedure. I'm sorry. And then Shasta says, I'll withdraw the question. Hudson says, FRA 412. Shasta says, I'll withdraw the question. Hudson says, okay. Going back to the occasion when Justin referred to Blake as sexy or hot then sexy, was that during filming or as something was about to be filmed? In my memory, it was like start of the day and like setting up a shot, like getting ready to rehearse, something like that. And where physically did that scene take place? Was it in an office? Was it on a studio? I apologize if I'm using the wrong terminology. It was in a bar. Okay, do you recall that bar being particularly hot at that time? Hudson objects. I don't know, maybe. So after sitting there saying, well, I don't believe his explanation that he was saying hot as in reference to the temperature. She flat out claimed, no, I don't believe him. And now she's being asked, well, was it hot? Maybe. Okay, do you recall what Blake was wearing? I remember that she was in her own clothes. No, she was in wardrobe. She was in wardrobe. Do you remember if she was wearing a jacket? Yes, in my memory, it was like some sort of button up or something. And from what I remember, but maybe I'm wrong, that she had like a blazer that I think she said was Ryan's blazer. What the fuck? Right, that was a word salad. What I got from that is she was wearing Ryan's blazer, which she admitted to wearing Ryan's clothes in the film, and a coat. And it was in a maybe hot bar. Okay, as best you can recall, what was the interaction between Blake and Justin as it relates to that comment? What I've already described. You still have to answer him. That fully describes your memory of the event. Objection to form. Hudson also objects. I think so. What happened after Justin made that comment? Objection. In my memory, that was when I said, as I described before, that the comments were kind of like range from being like irrelevant, doesn't matter when people think about what we look like in our clothes, to, kind of disruptive, like distancing and not doing that anymore. I can't remember that if Justin left, like between when he said the sexy hot stuff and then came back, and then I said that, or I can't remember how many times he left. Oh God. Maybe it was once, maybe it was twice. And then after I said that, in my memory, he left kind of, as I described before, kind of like huffed away. And then he came back and said the thing about the reason why he said the word was hot because it was hot in the bar. Fuck, what? Objection, unintelligible. Did he ever apologize for that comment? No, not that I can remember. Who else was present at that time? Blake. There were lots of crew members, people around. Okay, do you know if the interaction was audio recorded? She says no. She did not realize that it was being recorded, like Blake. Do you know if there is a video recording of that interaction? No. During the course of this production, did you ever hear Blake Lively use the term sexy? Nothing comes to mind. Of course, we have got her referring to the beanie as sexy in text message to Justin. We have got her talking about those boots. We're talking to male crew members and telling them how sexy the boots are and that they're like bone hitting wood. But she doesn't remember that anything. Nothing comes to her mind. Did you ever discuss sex or your sex life? Objections from everyone. With Blake? With anybody in connection with this movie? Objection. Nothing more than what the text message shows about a joke that I made. Oh, she did talk about her sex life. It sounds like they've shown her one of her text messages where she's made a joke about her sex life. Oh, the hypocrisy. Oh my God, that was infuriating. I can't believe I've got so many more deposition transcripts to go through. Okay, so that wraps Jenny Slate's deposition. Bitterly disappointing, just like Isabella Ferrer's. Yeah, I don't know what to say to that. My takeaway from that really is there's a lot of hypocrisy. I didn't like specific words in text messages with Blake, like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I wish I was there so I could be a witness." And there was like a text message where Blake was basically, getting in writing, right? So these are the talking points. This is what he did. He did this and he did that. And it's like, you should not need to kind of do that, really. You should not need to tell her what he did. And then there was, obviously, as I said at the start, like she could not remember the sequence of words that Justin Baldoni used, but she remembered with military precision what Blake Lively said. I was hoping that something would come up about the whole sanctity of motherhood crap. We didn't see that there. We might see it because I think Wayfarer exhibited some of her deposition. We're just waiting for Wayfarer's exhibits to be filed and sealed. So we will look. I'm sure they raise that question with her. Because if you notice, there's nothing on the set there that Jamie's done to her. I mean, even the trailer thing with Blake Lively, she's hearing about that third hand, right? That's not a reason for her to assume that Jamie Heath is creepy. And she's not specified a single instance herself about Jamie Heath in amongst this deposition transcript. So I'm curious to see, obviously this is not the whole transcript, but I do want to see what happened with that sanctity of mother thing, because that just sounds absolutely batshit. Okay, I think that's it. I'm going to do Colleen Hoover's next, I think.